So originally this video was going to be sponsored by the GoFundMe that I had set up to just get a little bit of extra cash for me and Scarlett's wedding. But then you guys reached the goal in like 3 days. So I don't really know what to do now other than say I love you all. I have the best fans. Holy hell, guys. Oh my God. I'm missing something. Hold on. Now, where were we again?
Hello, members of the Gonian, and welcome back to CBBC. I am your host, the most forgettable Robin, the Panda Red. With Deadpool and Wolverine having come out semi-recently...
Editor Panda here. When I'm recording this right here, it is roughly April 17th, 2025. Deadpool and Wolverine came out somewhere around July of last year. Yeah, I am not fast at this.
I think now's as good a time as any to dive into one of Wade Wilson's most infamous comics, completely unrelated to the fact that I am quite possibly his biggest fan. Like, tattooed on my body, level of biggest fan. That's right, I was a Deadpool fan before it was cool, and a Jughead fan before it was cool. I'm weird.
I'm a weirdo. I don't fit in.
That hurt to say. So with that in mind, let me introduce you to a comic that not only might get you interested in the character of Deadpool in the whole, but which also might make you question the way that you consume comics for the rest of your life. No biggie, right? Cool. So, with all that out of the way, let me introduce you to Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Now, the first things first. You have to know some setup on how and why this comic even came into being. I promise that this will be spoiler-free, quick, and hopefully painless. That last part is for you to decide.
PandaRed, PandaRed.com, the PandaRed, and all of the known subsidiaries is not responsible for any injuries sustained from watching this video, including but not limited to damages caused by cringing, disagreeing, or otherwise being amused by said content. Please consult your doctor if anything starts feeling uncomfortable, painful, or you start bleeding from any known orifices.
Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe was published in August of 2012. The shorthand of what you need to know is that this was at the height of what I would refer to as the Deadpool craze. It was released 4 years before the first Ryan Reynolds Deadpool live-action movie and was one of many dark and gritty runs from Marvel that marked the early to mid-2000s. This also came out a couple of years after Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, which is where this book gets its gimmick from. Now, Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe is a very different beast from this. It's a lot more self-indulgent, I would say, regardless of what this book actually contains. I know it's a miracle right there, but I think that Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe flows with the idea a little bit more. It takes the ball and runs with it, where Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe delivers on exactly what the title says. This book does a little bit more with it, if I'm not going to get into spoilers. For now, all you need to know is that this was prime time for obsession with Deadpool as the coolest, biggest, baddest, edgiest dude, a craze which perfectly aligned with a backdrop of apocalyptic, nihilistic monster at the end of this book-style overworld themes that Marvel had been cooking up for about 7 years straight. Now that we have all of our context sorted, let's get a little bit unstructured, shall we? All I'll say about the plot for now is that it's a genius idea executed poorly. Deadpool travels the Marvel Universe, slaughtering just about every hero that you can think of while leaving breadcrumbs of fourth wall breaking dialogue and introspection that makes you as the reader slowly realize that this might actually be your fault. Now, in the spirit of this being a book club and not a book report, see my previous videos for context on that bit, I'm not going to deep dive into the plot just yet. There's a reason I picked this run, and why I think it's worth going out of your way to read it yourself. Because there's probably a reason why you didn't when it first came out. The thing that sucks about that why is that this was a brilliant marketing tactic that just really didn't pan out. On the surface, especially when there were only 1 or 2 volumes out, this run is a self-indulgent slaughterhouse meant for the already established Deadpool fanbase who just want to see him absolutely wreck house and triumph over any and all other characters. Nothing more, nothing less. But the message revealed in the end of this is weirdly profound, not only for a Deadpool run, but for a story set in the thick of Marvel's grimdark era. In fact, I think Deadpool is the only character suited for this style of fourth wall breaking comic consumption commentary. More on that later. But the problem was in his established fan base, and the general fan expectation of many more years of dark and gritty Marvel content. Fans who had only wanted the blood and carnage picked this book up immediately. They reveled in what they got. On the surface, it's just Deadpool being the coolest motherfucker, regardless of logic, or power, or scaling, or plot armor, or anything. And I'm not insulting that in the least, I'm no better. Sometimes you just want to watch your favorite character be untouchable. We've all defended our favorite Pokemon, we've all defended our favorite superhero, or fuck it, even our favorite Nintendo to the absolute death out of just loyalty and nothing more. Don't you deny it, I have made these exact same debates. I have been in the back of the bus arguing that Deadpool could kill Doctor Who, that he could beat Superman because I was just as shitty as everyone else. We've all been there, we've all done it. Don't you deny it. Be honest with yourself and be accountable. However, because this reveal is slower and can be hard to spot depending on your level of literary analysis, any reader who may not have otherwise been interested in that sort of bloody free-for-all, but who still took a chance on it, likely would have been dissuaded and left it unfinished. They never made it past the admittedly fan-servicey beginning levels of Deadpool glazing. And how do I know that? Well, because I read this book with Scarlett, and that's exactly why she never even picked up the first volume, regardless of how much she loved the character of Deadpool. Hold on here. I'd like to pause here and apologize for every comic enjoyer who has had to experience the insufferable nature of a middle school Deadpool fan. I can't say whether I was or was not one myself, but please accept my formal apology anyway. They probably sucked. A lot. Anyways, listen, I'm not the authority on how every single person should consume this book, but the fact is that the sequel series, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe 2,
it's again. He means to say Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe again. I don't know if he makes this mistake more in the future, but yeah, he means Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe again. Back to the video.
continued the bit at total face value, and that's really damning. I feel like the message wasn't heard, or at the very least it wasn't appreciated by the fans who did make it to the end. And while it has more than its fair share of 2010's flaws like poor characterization or CW-level tropey dated dialogue, and God, there's so much awkward pacing, I really do think that it was insanely ahead of its time. Okay, so why do I say that it was ahead of its time? Well, to put it simply, it's a superb idea executed poorly. Deadpool acknowledges the fourth wall in a way that condemns comics as a media format, because it relies upon the creation and sustainment of an infinite loop of suffering, because characters have to be suffering in order for comics to be entertaining. It's just how he justifies the slaughter of all the other characters. Once he knows that they are all just constructs, doomed to eternal suffering at the hands of an undying puppeting force, what other answer is there but ending them for their own good? They're mercy killings. There are immediate hints that this isn't the typical kill-em-all storyline. There's not a lot of basking in the gore. There's quick check-in, sure, but there's no languishing in any of the deaths aside from the hook, which is like the first volume or two. And there are plenty of very startling deaths, some of which are fucked up and cruel. But, with some very notable exceptions, they're rarely visually disturbing to an indulgent level. Deadpool is significantly more focused on his goal, and his commentary is darker and more despondent while also having this sort of angel of mercy undertone. He doesn't expect them to understand and won't even try to get them to, at least until Xavier, who dies immediately upon learning it from Deadpool's head. I'll admit, there is a lot of cop-out moments like that. Black Panther and the Fantastic Four all die off-screen, for example, because let's be honest, if they didn't, there'd be no way to make Deadpool beating them realistic in any sense. It's one of the main flaws of the book, that the pacing is too fast and disjointed. It makes each encounter and subsequent death feel performative in a way that dismisses all other characters in the cast as trivial when compared to the might of Deadpool. But once you make it to the end, I think that issue can be seen as a supporting element to the message that regardless of in-world logic, if the writers, producers, or directors say it will happen, it's gonna fucking happen. So of course it happened off-screen. Of course there was no prolonged struggle, no moments of uncertainty as to who would win. That was the plan all along. Now, whether that was intentional or not, I can't say. Regardless, it's a thorn in the reading experience until you get to the end. And then, it's up to you to decide whether you want to give kudos to the writing team for their incredible use of foreshadowing by killing all these characters off screen, or whether you just want to say, they got lucky when they crammed this massive story of one guy killing a whole universe into a 4-issue miniseries. However, I will point out a true moment of kudos towards the writers. In the fight with Spider-Man, there is a subtle floating heads moment from the audience, where they express their outrage and desire to stop Deadpool only once a line is crossed and Spidey's already dead. Otherwise, they don't react at all, and they're sort of perverse spectators who don't show a realistic amount of alarm for the situation. In that moment, the civilians are representing the real-world comic readers. They're us. It's another subtler way of pointing fingers at the fans, condemning them and pointing out how fans perpetuate the cycle of suffering for characters they claim to love, and making clear that they are active participants in the mind-breaking level of cruelty and sociopathy that Deadpool sees it as, and that compliance and participation extends just as far as the character's mortality. If that suffering somehow results in the character's untimely demise, suddenly that suffering that they were compliant in mere moments ago is unjustified, and it's simply just bad writing. The comic is taking this moment to look out at the audience and go, why do you want this? Why do you want this indulgent destruction of a ton of characters, this grimdark, shallow, senseless violence that would never stick in canon? And why would you want something like this specifically? Why would you even want so many things to change just for one person to be held up in this way? And why in such a violent format? It points the finger at the fans and goes, this is you buying this book. You love Spider-Man, and you would be horrified if Spider-Man died. So why are you excited to see him die now? At what point are we dulling our own empathy by demanding fictional suffering as entertainment? Why are we so resistant to change, to new characters or Elseworld events, while also criticizing new runs or writers for not being imaginative enough in the boundaries that we give them that shrink every single year that the character continues to exist and be written? Why do we then push our own levels of acceptance for trauma, gore, heartbreak? Because to be unique and innovative means to push the boundaries again and again and again and again, by delving into more taboo, severe, or high-stakes areas. I think that the reflection this run encourages you to have is reason enough to read it. Comics are a standalone medium. There is nothing like it on the planet. Even its closest tangential counterparts like webtoons or manga are extremely different both in how their stories are told and how they are received. There is a lot of discussion and self-evaluation to be had on how and why we consume media the way we do, and how that consideration doesn't just stop at social media, news outlets, movies, or traditional published books. It extends to things like comic books as well. I like that it's open-ended for that reason. It's not an answer anyone can give you. It's way too personalized. And honestly, there's a cynical nihilism to the fact that even if you want something different out of your comics experience, the industry is not going to change to accommodate that, so long as there's a profit to be made and patterns to continue. Case in point. The sequel, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe 2, tosses all of that commentary right out the window to focus on being completely and sincerely indulgent to the fans who generated the initial interest that got the initial volumes off the shelves. Fans who just wanted to see Deadpool kick ass and beat every other superpowered character regardless of how or why. Because that's how comics work. As long as there are issues to be sold, that's the thing that's going to be taken away. I can't say that it's not disappointing. I love Deadpool, and this is far from the first time that I've felt like he's taken it face value for the sake of humor and nothing more. Things like the Deadpool movies, even though they are fantastic movies in their own right, really downplay the aspects of the character that I enjoy the most, such as his intense depression. Yes, before you even commented, I know that Deadpool 2 takes an extended sequence to show how depressed he is, but that's not because of the reason he is usually depressed. It is because his love interest died, or better yet, got fridged. I feel like Deadpool can be used to expound upon these ideas a lot more. He can be used to say a lot more meaningful things than he is usually used to say. And that's really unfortunate because there are a lot of aspects of the character that you never really see. He is heavily disfigured, and it is incredibly hard for him to have consistent love interests when that's not written out of the story entirely. He absolutely hates himself. He hates how he looks. He knows that he's a comic book character and is destined to suffer forever. He absolutely hates his history. He thinks that he is the most dangerous thing on the planet and has chosen that the best thing for everybody involved is if they hate him, because then they'll stay away and they won't be hurt anymore. And it really, really sucks that a lot of those things are usually downplayed. There are things that Deadpool can talk about that can be easier to digest because of his humor that are harder to talk about if you're playing it straight. There are so many things that this character has that are usually not expanded upon because he's funny and he breaks the fourth wall and he kicks a whole bunch of ass. And that's cool. That's not a bad thing. There's a reason that the Deadpool movies sell so many tickets. There's a reason that he's this huge character now. But at the same time, it is genuinely disappointing that things like this book that use the unique aspects of Deadpool's character to talk about larger issues kind of get downplayed, or they get forgotten, or the more surface level things are the things that people remember it for. But anyways, regardless of why you might seek out this run, there are a lot of other good things that I think might keep your interest, or at least they kept mine. Things such as Luke Cage and Thor and Cyclops' takedowns. They are super unique and I never see them talked about in other places. Deadpool's costume consistently gets destroyed and gets progressively more fucked up the longer that the series goes. There's a whole lot of really creative posing, like his pin-up level pose when he's pouring gasoline. Or Spidey telling Deadpool that he took his whole Merc with the mouth vibe from him. Captain America calling him a fruitcake out of nowhere. Deadpool having this really in-depth conversation with Taskmaster in the middle of a fight. This really in-depth talk with Xavier where he just essentially dares him. Okay, fucking try me. Try my brain. See what fucking happens, which is the way he kills him. There is also a lot of really interesting art points. Like the very hook of the book, the first couple of pages is Deadpool killing the Fantastic Four, in that there is this really interesting shot of Reed Richards' face melting around his skull, which is a weird thing. Usually you see the skull morph with Reed Richards, but in this one it kind of gives this sort of rubber draped on bones effect, which is gross and freaky, but it's still kind of cool. So if you can get past the pacing and some of the other more glaring bald spots, like sometimes the art doesn't look perfect. The musculature of some more comic booky characters doesn't look as good. But honestly, I mean, the book's going for a more realistic vibe anyway, so who cares? I really think that there's a lot of head scratching and introspection to be had. And personally, I think that only Deadpool can provide it in this way. He has a very unique relationship with his fourth wall awareness and his jaded Merc disposition. So even if you're not a Deadpool fan, I still think that this kind of narrative, this kind of deconstruction, can only be told from a perspective as unique as Deadpool's, and I would suggest giving it a shot if you are at all interested in the wider critique of comics as a medium. Overall, I'd rate 2012's Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I guess I don't really have a rating system for this show yet, do I? It's fucking 3.5 stars for now. Let me know how I should rate these videos in the future down in the comments. If you do like it, the only enjoyable sequel I would recommend after finishing it would be Deadpool Killustrated. Deadpool Killustrated does take a lot of the more deeper elements of this and dives into Deadpool killing the root characters that a lot of superheroes are based from. It kind of takes the idea of, I'm gonna mercy kill you so that you don't have to be stuck in this infinite loop, and goes, well, if I can just kill the thing you're based on, you never get created in the first place. It's a grandfather paradox, essentially. But I really enjoyed that as a sequel to this book a lot more than I enjoy something like Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe 2. If you like this video, of course, do the usual shit like subscribing and turning on notifications, because as I'm sure you know, it helps the channel so very much. But also head over to Patreon. There's a lot of new things under construction. We're trying out a lot of new stuff, but you'll find chances to vote on what comic will be a part of the next book club. Podcast-style freeform thoughts with Scarlett and I immediately after finishing a book. Early script reviews, things like that. And, of course, if you have any other things you'd like to see, drop a comment here, there, or anywhere, everywhere. Fuck it. There, here, whatever. There's places you can go. Until next time, thank you for watching and hopefully reading with me. Special thanks to the following Patreon members whose support makes all these videos possible.
extra special thank you to all of you for waiting and watching. I absolutely had a blast making this. An extra special thank you to all of my lovely, lovely patient patrons over on Patreon. The Friendly Nerd, Dragonfang, Amanda Barnstead, Andrea Lanowitz, Anthea Yu, Bill Bro, Black Blooded Beast, Brenna, Christopher Bosgard, CJ1313, Cypher Dark, Cy the Poet, definitely not 5 Gene Stealers in a trench coat, Dee Dee, Dominic Viculo, Fire Raven Soul, Gabby Ruiz, Gamer X, Jacob Zafel, Jake Williamson, Jeffrey Aviles, Jojo the Frog, Karen Bloomquist, Cat Q, K Joe, Kyle Rayner, Magu, Maria Clara Barbosa, Midnight Ace Evergreen, Mr. Nobody 13, Nimbus McLeod, Noah, Knox, Oplin, Righteous Duke, Shadow Spike, Simply Smithy Jr., Silver Bullets 23, Tangled Web, The Brain Teaser, Unremarkable, and Puck the Smile Bringing Bard, as well as all of my other lovely, lovely patrons over on Patreon. Listen, I know that every YouTuber on the planet tells their followers to comment, but this was genuinely a new style that both me and Scarlett tried out. Scarlett actually wrote the majority of this video. We worked on it together, but so many flowers go straight to her for all of the effort that went into making this video and making sure it came out correctly. So I want to hear everything that you guys have to say. Do you guys like the new style? Is there anything that you would like? We're going to be trying so many new things coming up in the near future. We really want to hit the ground running hard on this and really make this something special and something new and something that we haven't really done before. So I really hope you guys enjoyed. Honestly, if you guys want to donate to the GoFundMe for Scarlett and I's wedding, that would be amazing, but nobody has to because, like I said, you guys are incredible and cleared it in 3 days. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Thank you guys so much for hopefully reading along with me. I love every single one of you, and I will see you next time.